coming out here after 30 years. Yeah, I ain't got nothing, but I'm gonna have something because I'm rich in personality, and I'm rich in love. My family love me, and that's really all that counts. Hey man, shout out everybody out there on Team Banky Pound, man. Today, man, we gonna be kicking it with my man from IG Painpaingoaway. He also part of TBP Nation, man. We've been chopping it up. I've been telling him I've been watching his content. I feel like he got a story to tell. So, he a part of what we got going on. So why not let him tell it over here, man? So what's up, brother? What's happening?
What's good, Big Bank, man? Glad to be here, man. First
Hey,
off, I
man.
want to shout out TBP, you know what I mean? That's the nation. I'm a part of that, forever.
So,
And
for
that's what
sure.
that is.
Hey man, it's a pleasure to have you here, man. Like I say, I've been watching you bits and pieces, man. But I just, I find like what you got going on or what you doing, man. I find it intriguing, and the life that you had prior to right now. You know what I'm saying? I just found it intriguing, man. So, man, just go ahead and tell a little people about yourself, man. Start from wherever you want to, so they'll get an idea of who you are, where you at right now, but not where you at right now, but where you was before you got to where you at right now.
Okay, well, my name is Senior. I'm from the Bronx. My mother lived in the Bronx. My father, he lived in Harlem. So, I spent a lot of time back and forth. But unfortunately, my father came back from Vietnam. He was on dope, on the heroin real bad. My mother was also struggling as a single mother. And, it was just rough for the kid growing up. I ate every night. I didn't go hungry, but, might have soup and sandwich for dinner, might have eggs and toast or something like that. So my mother went through a real struggle, but she was a real conscious black woman, into her culture and everything. So, as a child growing up, I got picked on a lot, I got teased a lot for not having much. But my fight game was up. So, I ain't really stand for too much joking, too much teasing. You know what I mean? I set people straight pretty quick. Um, but by the time I got to middle school, in New York we call it junior high school. Both my mother and father, they kind of picked themselves up, man. My mother ended up with 2 degrees, a bachelor's and a master's. My father kicked the dope habit. He got a full-time job, at a hospital, with benefits and all of that. So life got a little better for me, by the time I got to middle school. So by the time I got to high school, I was doing all right. But uh, I met this young dude, when I was in high school, maybe like 10th grade, man, and he was into the arts, man. He used to collect like Martin Scorsese movies and Quentin Tarantino movies, and he just put me on a lot of, he was into like acting and directing and producing. And one day, this brother had sickle cell, man, so he was sick a lot, but he had a drive that was out of this world. And he invited me to go with him to this audition for this big acting school in New York. So I went with the brother for moral support, because he was a good dude to me. And well, let me take it back. First, when I met this brother, after dealing with him for some time, he was the first person that told me, like, Senior, you got a thing with you, you got a thing that you got something in you that could take you far. And this brother said, you got something in you that I don't even have. And, that kind of hit me hard because, at that time and at that age, showing that vulnerability as a young man and not having too much ego to tell another man that you got something that I don't got. Like you just don't find that too much. So, I really held him dear to me. So I went with him to this acting audition. We on the train. I'm watching him read his monologue, and he rehearsing and all of that. And I'm just there for moral support. And when I got there, I'm just sitting in there, and it was like it was white people running this acting school. So while I'm sitting in there, these people were asking me like, what are you doing here?" And I'm like, I just came to support, one of my friends or whatever. So now they pressing me. These people were pressing me to audition for this acting school. So I'm like, I don't have no material or nothing like that. I'm not prepared to, because you had to read a monologue, you had to dance and sing. So they gave me something. But before that, I said I gotta ask my man if it's all right. You know what I mean? I didn't want to violate my man or step on his toes or anything like that. So when I asked him, he was like, "Brother, do it, man. Please do it." So, I did it. They gave me something to read. I read it. I ain't have a song to sing. They told me to sing Happy Birthday. So I sang Happy Birthday. And them people picked me, man. Like me and this black girl was the only ones that they picked, um, as far as being black people. You know what I mean? Everybody else they picked was. Um, and I was so I had mixed feelings. I was kind of happy, but I was kind of sad for my man because he didn't make it, and this is his thing. And he didn't show me no ill feelings, man. He encouraged me and was like, "Yo, it's all right, brother. Don't worry about me. I'm just proud of you." So now I'm in this acting school, and I always had one foot in and one foot out. When I was young, I used to look up to the dealers, the drug dealers. I was so poor that the drug dealers was the only people I saw that was, you know, looking good, man. Jewelry, cars, women. Like I ain't see doctors and lawyers and people like that in my neighborhood. So I idolized drug dealers, and my mother would see the fascination that I had with these drug dealers, and she told me from young. She said, "Yo, I see what you fascinated at," and she said, "But I'm gonna tell you like this: you ain't never gonna have no success in that game because you got too much knowledge yourself." You know what I mean? And when she said that to me, like, it kind of messed me up, but it always stayed in the back of my head. So I did jump out there in the streets, but I never went too far. Like, I never jumped into anything major. I sold some weed. I sold some dust. Dust is what you guys call in DC like love boat, but
Yeah,
they don't
yeah,
put it on. They don't put it on the weed. They put it on leaves that you get from like the health food store, like spearmint leaf,
yeah.
peppermint leaves, and they put that juice on it, seal it up. So I did that. I sold the pills. And then in high school I used to, again, I was getting in a lot of fights, not because I was getting picked on now, because I stepped my game up a little bit because my people had was doing better, but I just was always like a no nonsense type of guy. I ain't really tolerate much. And like you, Banky, I was the type that I'm gonna come to defend the weak, man. You know what I mean? Anybody getting picked on that ain't about that, I'm coming to
Yeah,
their aid. So I had a
yeah,
lot of people always calling on me for beef that really I ain't have nothing to do with. And I
right.
was always there front line, and that was part of my downfall too. But I don't really have no regrets about that because that was something that was embedded in me, naturally. So I was at the acting school, man, and I did it for a while, but they had me dancing soft shoe ballet. I mean, I'm talking about tights and everything.
Right,
So
right.
I felt a little funny about that. Riding the train home, I got my sweatpants on, but I got tights up under my pants. And I really had a little phobia because when I was younger, um, I told you we was doing bad and struggling, so I didn't even really have pajamas. And my mother used to make me sleep. I was probably like in like second grade. My mother used to make me sleep in my sister's tights, just to be warm, at night. Like I might have on a shirt and some tights. So one time, you know, I used to like be like, yo, ma, I ain't trying to wear these tights and all of that. And she'd get on me like, yo, boy, it's about being warm. Like, ain't nobody gonna see you. Like, you know, so sure enough, Banky, man, we had a fire in the building. Somebody fell asleep smoking in the bed. So now we got to rush out of the apartment. My mother grabbed me, grabbed my sister. She was able to grab me a little jacket, you know, but it was like a short jacket. You know what I mean? She pulling me and my sister down the stairs, you know. I mean, it was an intense fire. So now we outside and we across the street, like the whole building is across the street, and we looking up at the fire, and a lot of kids got rushed out of the building, and it wasn't too long before them dudes looked over and saw me standing out there with some tights on, Bank. You know what I mean? And you know, I got ragged for that, man. So you know, by the time I got to this acting school and had to wear the tights again, you know what I mean? Like it was just bad. It was a psychological thing, you know what I mean? So, man, I end up, you know, I didn't even want to tell my man. I was there for almost a year, bro, but you know, I didn't want to tell my man I quit, but I ended up just, you know, walking away from the school. You know, the people, they really didn't like it, you know, but you know, I just gave up on that, you know. So then I end up again, I'm in school, but I'm getting in a lot of trouble. They kicked me out of school, you know, and in the 10th grade, I got kicked out of school. So I was out of school for a while, you know, really not doing anything. And then I got put into an alternative school. Now this is crazy because this alternative school, you don't go to class, Banky. You know, they send you to job sites. They give you a whole list of jobs to pick from. And you go to the job, but instead of getting money, they give you credit. Like they give you a grade. You know what I mean? So being that my man didn't turn me on to the arts, I had picked 2 jobs. You know, when you was talking the other day and you was talking about Winslow or something, you said something about Winslow. I worked with the older woman, the grandmother from Family Matters. Right. She had a company, you know what I mean? So I worked directly with her. You know what I mean? That was one of my jobs. And all I really did was run errands for her. Go to the cleaners, go pick up coffee. You know what I mean? Go pick up a package from here, you know? And I would get, instead of getting money, she'd give me a grade, you know? And my other job was working at this prop theater. And this is a theater that they rent props to other theaters that have plays and stuff. And I worked right next to a guy named Jeffrey Owens. Jeffrey Owens is from the Cosby Show, the oldest sister. That was her boyfriend.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know.
Curly hair.
I know his work. Yeah, I know his work.
So, you know, I worked with them, you know, and I did that for like a whole year. And I finished my 11th grade. You know, they all gave me good grades. They loved me too, man. But my mother, she was like, "You're not learning nothing here, man." Like, so she took me out of the alternative school and she sent me south, you know, to North Carolina, you know, Greensboro, you know. So I graduated in Greensboro, North Carolina, came back to New York, you know, and got right back to it, man. Just, you know, hustling and, you know what I mean, chain snatching, you know what I mean, selling the weed and all of that, you know. But another thing was there was I don't know if you ever heard of it or remember, it was a place called an Uptown Comedy Club. And this is sort of like In Living Color, like how they do skits and stuff like that. It's a bunch of comedians doing like little skits and stuff like that. So I went there one night and my man Flex, you know Flex, he's a comedian. He's been in a lot of movies too. Flex, he was host. Right, he was the host for the Uptown Comedy Club. So he knew I was into the arts and all of that stuff like that, you know. And he had asked me, like, they was doing a new segment where they was going to try something new called a dating game, where they was going to set a table up on the stage, and while the people was doing the skits, they would have me up on the table, and they had me with 2 dates. And while they doing their skits, like Flex will come back to the table and, you know, ask her some questions, see how the date is going and all of that. And at the end of the night, I would have to choose between these two girls. You know what I mean? And one of the girls was one of the girls from SWV, not Coco, but Lily. I don't know if you know which one is Lily. You know what I mean?
think
So, you know, when they would come up to the table and ask me certain things, you know, Bank, I was using my wit, I was being funny, you know what I mean? So it went over real well. And they wanted me to come back. Like at the end of the night, you know, they aired it live, you know what I mean? But at the end of the night, they wanted me to come back, not on the day that they do the show, but it was like an off day. They did the shows on Wednesday. They wanted me to come back on Tuesday. But I kid you not, Bank, I caught a little fame from this. When I would walk down the street, people would recognize me from this show. Like,
right.
yo, you that guy from, you know what I mean? So that was like my first little taste of fame, you know? And I was all excited about that because they wanted me to come back, right? So I came back on this Tuesday and I come into the room and there's 4 guys sitting around, you know what I mean? So when I came in, I ain't expected to be no other guys in there. You know, I thought, you know, it was just going to be me. But when I came in there, all these guys are reading material, like they got stand-up material, you know? So I didn't have any of this, you know what I mean? I'm coming back to do some skits. I thought they was going, you know, tell me what to do as far as some skits, and, you know, that's what it was going to be. But all of these dudes were sitting in there reading stand-up material because we was going to have to go on stage and do a stand-up routine. They never told me that, yo. They just told me to come back on Tuesday. So I wasn't even prepared for that. So I'm sitting in there and I'm kind of nervous. You know, I'm watching these brothers read their material and all of that. I'm looking around, and the guy I was sitting next to, you know, I was talking to him a little bit, you know, and I was telling him like, yo, I don't think I could do this, man. Like, I gotta, you know, I think I'm gonna leave. And he was trying to talk me into staying. And I was like, man, I can't do it. You know what I mean? I don't even got no material. I don't want to go up on stage and make a fool out of myself, you know? And he was like, yo, I think you should stay, man. And I was like, you know, I was like, nah, I can't do it, man. So I ended up leaving Banky, you know what I mean? But the crazy thing was, less than a year, bro, I seen the dude I was sitting next to on TV on the Martin show. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Playing the hustle man. You know who that is?
Yeah. Oh boy, I can't call his name, but Tracy Morgan.
Tracy Morgan. I was sitting right next to Tracy.
1 second, look. I told you I'm gonna let you rap, but it seemed like when I be taking myself off the screen, it seemed like you be frozen. So I'm not sure if that's coming across to them or not. Plus, wherever you got your mic at, is when you hit the table, something is echoing. So
okay,
try not to hit the mic. Yeah,
okay.
But I mean, but keep on going. So you done met people from Family Matters. You done met Tracy Morgan. I mean, yeah, that was one of the things with me listening to you, man. I just was hearing you call a lot of names of people that you knew or that you had been around, right? So, man, it kind of like remind me, kind of sort of when I was the little clips I done seen of you, like when I say you lived a fascinating life, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's like you remember like Forrest Gump, like all of these different events and these different people that he ended up meeting over. You know what I'm saying? That's what it reminded me of. But yeah, go ahead, continue though, man.
And none of this is really on my strength, really. You know, my man who I met, he was the one that was put me in position for all of this stuff. You know what I mean? God bless the dead, you know. He picked me up one time in a limo, like, you know, with this other guy that he was dealing with, you know, and Chris Rock, bro, and Bill Bellamy was in the limo, bro. Well, they wasn't in the limo. We actually picked them up. I was in the limo first, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he was coming to pick up a couple other people. It was Chris Rock and Bill Bellamy. They weren't as big as they are, you know.
Right.
But people still knew who they were, you know what I mean? So, and like I said, this young brother had me working with Spike Lee he would bring me to the set with Spike Lee and the Hudlin brothers, the Hudlin brothers who did
Yeah.
Kid and Play and all of that stuff. Like,
Right.
so
Right.
this dude really, he really turned me on to a lot. You know what I mean? But I still was messing with the streets, man, and still getting in, trouble, So I ended up catching an armed robbery charge, man, when I was about 19, and when I went to court, my parents paid for a lawyer for me. I wasn't the type I wasn't robbing no establishments and nothing like that. But if I catch somebody slipping, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get them. You know what I mean? So, and only because that happened to me so much when I was young, people was robbing me. I ain't even have nothing, and they was robbing
Right.
me.
Right.
So I would just, like it's either be the prey or be
Lifestyle. Yeah.
right.
People.
So
Yeah.
that's really what that
You
was
get that
about.
environment.
Right, but that really wasn't me, in
Right.
my heart. I'm just like in Rome, you do what the Romans do, basically,
No.
So I caught this charge, man, and it was funny because I was downtown robbing people this color, you know what I mean?
Right.
And what happened was the dudes would, when I got locked up, they brought me up to the ADA office, and I gave them some little story, and they ended up letting me go, But the dudes that I was with, they all turned on me. So I ended up, like, when they let me go, I went back to North Carolina, you know what I mean? And I enrolled in school and all of that, and I ended up getting indicted, and had to come back and face this case, So when I came back, like I said, my people's got a lawyer for me and everything. And my lawyer kept telling me, like, yo, if you guilty, he didn't know if I was guilty or not, but he kept telling me, if you guilty, 9 times out of 10, the jury gonna find you guilty. You know what I mean? He kept scaring me with that, you know what I mean? So I was like, well, what's the max time for this? You know what I mean? So at the time, for armed robbery, they was giving you 15 years. If I was to blow trial, they was gonna give me 15 years. So the alternative to that was 5 years of intensive supervision probation. And this is probation where they come to my house twice a week between 9 and 12 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They gonna come to my house and, you know what I mean, check up on me, right? So now I'm caught up on this probation, intensive supervision thing, and I'm hating New York right now, like, you know what I mean? And I'm feeling like I want to get out of here. So my man who turned me on to all of this stuff, he ended up going to Atlanta, and he went to Clark, he went to Clark College or whatever. So, I used to talk to him on the phone, and he was like, yo, try to get down here, yo. Life is sweet down here, like, So I couldn't leave New York, I wasn't allowed to leave New York. So I had to write the judge a letter, you know what I mean? And I told the judge that I had a job prospect down there, and I was going to enroll in school. And, I just wrote this long letter, and all of that. And they granted me permission to go. I was surprised too, man. But I was so happy. But the thing was, when I got down there, they didn't have anything called intensive supervision probation. So when I transferred my probation down there, it went from them coming to my house 2 times a week to now I go to the probation office once every 3 months. You know what I mean? So that was sweet. And when I got
upgrade.
Yeah, that was love right there. Yeah. So, but then, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I said, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so that made me a little more loose again. So now, I ain't do no robbing or nothing like that in Atlanta, but I was, I met a bunch of brothers, man, like some dudes from Boston, Connecticut, in Atlanta, it was like a melting pot. People from a lot of places coming down there, you know what I mean? So I met a bunch of dudes, and, we was a crew, like we used to rap and all of that, and we call ourselves the Black Knight Family, So when we would go out, we ain't never start no stuff, man. But like I said, we ain't really stand for nothing. And somebody always crossing the line, and, we got to put them through it. You know what I mean? So then, we got a reputation of that. You know what I mean? And it was just crazy. Like, you know, so this one in about 94, I'm standing in the club and somebody just came out of nowhere, bust me in the face with a bottle, right? So now, like, I don't know if you can see, but my scar starts right here. It almost took my eye out. And it come around here, this whole piece was hanging. It came down my face. I got a slice on my face, and it cut my I got a slice on my arm. You know what I mean? And that was in 94. And I was like, I gotta slow down, man. Like, you know, I didn't even know why whoever hit me. You know what I mean? It could have been some old beef or whatever.
Right.
But you know what I mean? So that was in 94, you know. So fast forward to 95, I'm at another party, you know, and I got my girl with me. She was pregnant too at the time. It was New Year's Eve, and we was at the Fox Theater. You know, it's a dress-up joint. Everybody dressed all nice and everything. So I got my Black Knight family in there, but I'm chilling with my girl this night, you know. And sure enough, after a while, I see a commotion in there, and something just telling me that's your people. You know what I mean? So when I went over there, sure enough, it was my peoples, and we call it stomping out. You know how you call it banking, but they stomping some dudes out. You know, so I see a little head pop out of the dudes that they stomping. So I'm going to go get me a little kick. You know what I mean? But when I see the dude face, I'm like, oh man, yo, it's some made, you know, like how the Italians say made men.
Yeah.
It's just some made men from around my way in the Bronx. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, big time killers. You know what I mean? My people stomping them out, they don't even know who they stomping out. You know what I mean? I don't even know what happened at that time. It was just already, you know what I mean, going on. So I really didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? So I ended up stopping them. Like I stopped it and I got my peoples up off of them. But when I got my peoples up off of them and I got the dudes up, the dude said right away, you ninjas is dead, you know? So my people want to jump on him some more. And I'm like, nah, let him go. You know, let him go. But at that time, Banky, it was bad business. I already knew what was like. They wasn't gonna let that go. You know what I mean? These type of dudes, something like that ain't never happened to them, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They ain't used to getting dealt with like that. You know what I mean? So you know, it ain't really stopped. Like, you know, I warned everybody about what type of dudes these was. You know what I mean? And at the time, we really wasn't shooting guns like that. We was just putting hands and feet on people. You know
what year was this? 95, you say?
Yeah, this was 95. And it's funny because these are the same dudes that Puff hired, P. Diddy hired, you know what I mean? When he was having that East Coast, West Coast beef, you know what I mean?
Right.
You know, my man Wolf, you heard of Wolf?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Wolf's crew. Now, Wolf wasn't one of the ones that got stomped out, but it's his crew, and these is like two high-ranking members of his crew. Now, it's crazy because me and Wolf, I got a history with Wolf, you know what I mean? Because Wolf taught me how to drive, you know what I mean? He taught me how to drive, stick shift, and everything. My first car was a stick, and he taught me how to drive. But it's crazy because when I first met Wolf, I was 14 years old, and I lived in a two-family house in the Bronx, and he was messing with the girl downstairs. He just came home from the penitentiary like in 85. These dudes is about 7 years older than me, you know? And when Wolf would come into the house, I was close with them downstairs, you know, with the girl, our brother. I'm 14 years old, and Wolf will come in that house and see that girl in a nightgown or something and be like, yo, why you sitting around this ninja with, you know, he'd scream on her right in front of me. And I never really had nobody like talk about me like, you know, he talking about me like, you know, but the way he doing it and looking at me, you know, and I'm the type that if he was like a clown or a Bama, I'd have laughed at him. You know what I mean? But the vibe I got off of this man, I was like, I just kept my mouth shut, Bank. You know what I mean? Like he's a serious dude. You know what I mean? This is Wolf is the one who was standing nose to nose with Suge. You know what I mean? For Puff. You know. So like I knew the beef was on, but I kept going out. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't gonna go in to hide into nothing like that. But when I stopped them from jumping these dudes, man, I brought attention to myself. Like they knew that if I was able to stop these dudes, from stomping them out, that they was my crew. Like, that's my crew basically. And it was. So now they in, even though I stopped it, I thought I was helping them, but they ain't cared nothing about that. They got it in for me. You know what I mean? So now this one particular night I'm out again with my girl, and they set us up this night. You know what I mean? They was getting money in a lot of projects around town. So they brought all these dudes from all these projects, brought them to the club because me and my peoples was in the club. Again, my girl was there that night, but I was with my people. She was with us, and it just seemed like the whole club turned on us, But they orchestrated this thing right because they had people outside waiting, strapped up too. So they had dudes inside that started it, and then they had dudes strapped outside waiting for it to funnel out the club. You know what I mean? And so I was able to come out the club without them seeing me. I had my girl with me. I made it up the block to where she parked. I got her to the car. She's like, come on, let's go. And I'm like, I can't leave. I can't desert my people. You know what I mean? She begging me to leave. And I'm like, nah, I can't do that. And Banky, sure enough, soon as I went back, bro, like she didn't even get to take off before she heard the shots, yo. Somebody hit me 5 times, bro, out of nowhere. Like I didn't even see it coming. I didn't even see where he shot me from or nothing. I just was feeling the impact. Boom, boom, boom. And I was like drinking, smoking that night. So like I stayed on my feet taking all these shots until they started hitting my legs too. And then I dropped. And when I dropped, my body just started swelling up like a balloon. You know what I mean? Like, and I really didn't know how bad I was. I ended up with a crowd of people around me. I'm on the ground. I'm embarrassed. You know what I mean? I can't even move, And I see one of my homeboys, he's looking down at me and he's crying. You know what I mean? So I was like, this is bad. You know what I mean? And the ambulance came, you know what I mean? They took me to the hospital. I done lost my kidney. I lost my spleen, part of my pancreas. You know what I mean? They gutted me open. I got a scar all the way down here, I got all these bullet fragments still in me. So I go through like a lot of pain. It's like neuropathic nerve pain. I have it every day. And the doctors told me it was going to progressively get worse. And it has, man. So now I got to have bike shirts, you know what I mean? Like in the car, in the bed, because, I'm going through this extreme pain all the time, And, and it's crazy because like, when I first got shot, man, I wanted to pass. You know what I mean? I didn't even want to be here no more. You know what I mean? Because I felt like my life, the way my life was, it would have been short but sweet. I had just turned 23 years old, and I felt like people was going to be talking about me like, yo, Senior was this, Senior was cool. He was, you know what I mean? And I wanted to go that way. I didn't want to be left here stuck in this chair. Like I felt like that was like a punishment, not only a punishment, but I felt real weak. You know what I mean? Like I was so physical as a person. Why would God put me in this position where now I can't even, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like I can't even be the man who I'm supposed to be. So I really couldn't understand. I really couldn't understand it, man. And it took a lot of, it was a mental thing too, So my platform basically is about, it's about pain, because I go through pain every day, and I'm not the only one going through pain. You know what I mean? It's people going through emotional pain, physical pain, the pain of loss, the pain of abandonment. You know what I mean? Just like the pain that your family felt when you went and had to sit down. You know what I mean? And also the pain that you felt having to leave your family. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So, the pain business, nobody's excluded from that. We all go through pain on different, right? You know, so I
Oh,
want to go
hold
ahead. I'm
up.
sorry.
I'm saying, hold up. I think, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I think when I talk and you talk, I can hear me. So I don't know if this audio is coming out good or not, man. But I'm almost sure. Say something.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Yeah, it's kind of like we talk at the same time. I think I can hear my echo reverberating. I don't know though, but we gonna still work it out. But yeah, that's yeah, man, that's something. So at 23 was when you got shot and subsequently paralyzed.
Right.
That's crazy. So yeah, so how old are you now?
I'm about to be 55 in September.
So it's been a long journey. You dealing with that, and you saying like the pain is every day. So that's where you come up with the name for your platform, Pain Go Away.
Right. But it's not
Mm.
just the pain. You know, it's a lot of things that come with just being in a wheelchair,
Oh
man. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
your
yeah. I
skin
don't
breaks
know.
down.
I know you don't know, but I've been home 6 years, and first year and a half. I was out a year and a half, and my nephew got shot, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. He been in a wheelchair ever since. So I've seen it. I've been able to witness it. He was young, you know what I'm saying? He just turned, okay, so it's been 4 years. He just turned 5 years. He just turned 31, you know.
Right.
So I've
Right.
seen that. I seen what he going through. I got video of him when I first come home. He was so vibrant. He dancing and, you know what I'm saying, talking trash. Everywhere he went, he walked. He didn't have a car. You know what I'm saying? Big boy, man. You know what I'm saying? About 5'10", 5'11", about 210. You know,
Right.
so I seen the joint break him down. I seen it break his mental down. I seen it break his confidence down. You know what I'm saying? And I be trying to motivate him. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't tell him that it's permanent. You know what I'm saying? But he was so depressed he won't even get. He stopped the physical therapy. He don't. You know what I'm saying? He just want to lay down in the chair, and then I know it's mental. So every
Right.
time I see, you know what I'm saying, I grab him, I pull him, shake his hand real hard, and
Got to, yo.
I'm saying so I kind of like know, but I can't be in your shoes, but I kind of like know because just watching him, you know what I'm saying, it's like I can feel it. I can feel his pain. You know, I feel it when he talked to me. I feel it, and I know what I saw when I first came home. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy, man, because he wasn't even born when I went in prison. You know.
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, so that's the only version I knew of him when I came home. The vibrant him. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
It definitely changes you, man. You know, as a personality, you know, it changed my personality. You know, I lost I used to be a little more jokey and, funny and all. And it took a lot. You know, I still have those moments where I'm like that, but yeah, it changed, it changed me. You know what I mean? It definitely changed me. So, my podcast, I talk about the night that I was shot, and then I talk about my recovery, like all the things I had to go through, But not only that, I jump into a time machine every once in a while and talk about pain from my past, whether physical or emotional, pain from growing up. So that's basically what the platform is about. And I'm eventually start interviewing other people to hear their testimony about their pain and how they turn pain to purpose, or if they still even dealing with pain, or because I know I'm not the only one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like you said, pain was universal. So
It's
I just
universal.
wanted a community where people could come to and get some information, feel encouraged, and know that they're not the only one going through, because people going through diabetes, sickle cell, lupus, just an array of things, man, that's plaguing people every day. And again, it's not just stuff like that, but like I said, the pain of loss, the pain of abandonment. As a lot of kids don't even know where they came from, who their dad is, or you know what I mean. Just it's for
Yeah.
all pain, man.
And it's a lesson in your story. It's a blessing in your story, and it's a lesson. The blessing is you still here, number one, to tell the story. The lesson is too, it's like a lot of us, man, even just like my story in some ways is similar to yours. It's like you had a gift, you had a talent to do something. You was noticed, you was recognized, you was, you know what I'm saying? You was acknowledged for what you was doing. But at the same time, this is where we mess up when we young, and then you was still straddling the fence. You was still trying to do the street life over here and do this over here. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? It was the same for me. You know what I'm saying? Boxing and I'm working, but I'm also robbing people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Try to do everything. So it you know, the lesson is to these young people is to let you know, man, you can't straddle the fence, man. And then sometimes you're gonna reap what you sow, and it may come worse, it may come, but you're gonna reap what you sow, man. You know what I'm saying? And my thing is you can't do nothing bad and expect good things to come out of it. But people do it every day. We go rob, we go sell drugs, we doing something bad, and we expecting to get something good out of it. You know what I'm saying? The monetary value, the success, the fame, the whatever. It ain't gonna work out like that. You know what I'm saying? Right. And even when it do, it's false gold. It ain't gonna last. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna last, man. We doing wrong things, expecting good things to happen for us.
Right.
And when we don't ever think like that, though, we don't put it in that perspective. But when you put it in that perspective, it's like, if the law of karma is correct, it ain't gonna never work out at the end. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the decisions, man, that we make when we young, man, they affect us as we get older, man. They affect us for the rest of our life. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And then you got good people. You got good people and bad people. You know, we good people doing bad things.
Bad things, you know what I'm saying?
What I mean? And that's never going to work out.
We try to justify it, though, saying we doing it for the right reason. We doing it because we need it. We doing it because we trying to get that.
Right.
No, it ain't gonna. You know what I'm saying? Like that old saying, what is it? The road ahead is paved with good intentions.
Right.
You
exactly.
Know? You got, you know what I'm saying? So it's choices, man. And I always tell people, especially these youngins, man, if you put your grind to doing something the right way, something legal, something legit, as hard as you do to try to do something illegal, not legit, man, you'll always win, man. You always win. You always win. You just got to take that same focus and change the target of where you're trying to go. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, I ended up with a life sentence, you know what I mean? In this chair.
You know what I'm saying?
You know?
Yeah.
But you know what's crazy too? That the same dudes that I had beef with, BMF killed them. You remember when Meech got shot? Wolf had beef with Meech. You know what I mean? He snatched Meech up in the club one time by the neck. You know what I mean? And Wolf was a monster, man. You know what I mean? I'm not. I
heard stories of him. I definitely heard stories of him. I know he was Puff personal bodyguard.
Right.
I heard a lot of stories of him. I heard he supposed to allegedly might be Justin daddy. You know, they look a lot.
That ain't.
Yeah, but that's what they was saying. It was like they look alike. They look just alike.
He too big. He too big. Justin too small, man.
They going by the skin tone.
That ain't right.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I definitely heard some. I heard a lot of stories about him though, for sure. I know he won't nothing to play with.
Yeah, he's serious dude, you know. But what happened was, you know, Wolf got 100 dudes that are killed for him. Meech got 1,000. You know what I mean?
Right. You know,
and, I'm not gonna front it. Him and the dude that one of the dudes that got stomped out that night. They waited for Meech, just 2 dudes. Meech in there with like 15, 20 dudes.
Right.
When Meech came out that club, they let off on Meech. Meech ended up getting shot. He got shot in the butt. He you know what I mean? He was he was retreating. But his crew ran him down, and you know they killed Wolf and the dude that the beef started with me. You know what I mean? And it was, you know what this beef was about, Bank? You ain't even gonna believe this. In the club that night, my people had paid for a certain amount of pictures to get taken. You know what I mean? And these dudes, like I said, they gangsters. they came and tried to bogart my people like, nah, y'all done taking pictures. We about to take pictures now. And my people hadn't got all their pictures. So my people don't know who they are. And my people was just like, what? And they took it to them. You know what I mean? But again, these dudes ain't used to, you know, getting jumped on like that. So, and then I found out later, you know, that one of them lost a $25,000 Rolex when they got jumped. You know what I mean? So that fueled the fire.
Yeah,
and I also found out, you know, from this young lady that they went to the projects and gathered up all these dudes that night. Because I'm telling you, that night that it jumped off, it seemed like the whole club was on us. Like all kind of dudes I didn't recognize. Like it was just chaos. You know what I mean?
Smallest things, man, could turn into the biggest things, man, and lives could be changed forever. Obviously, like they was, though, man. It's just crazy work, man, out here in these streets. You know, that's why I say, man, we got to move different. We got to think different, man. We got to want something different for something to change, bro.
Yeah.
Real talk.
And I was afraid, man. You know, I was afraid being in that hospital. You know what I mean? I was vulnerable. I thought they was going to come finish me in the hospital, and they know where my mother live at. So I was afraid they was going to do something to my mother. You know what I mean? Up in New York, you know. Yeah. So it was just like it was a lot, man, I had to go through, man, you know. Yeah, but I didn't want to leave Atlanta. My mother's trying to say, yo, come home. And, you know, I stayed out here with no family, just thugging it out. You know what I mean? And it was rough. You know what I mean? Before I found my momentum, you know, just with recovery and all of that, like it.
Hey, you here for a reason, not a season, bro. You know, like say, man, you get ready to be 50, man. This happened when you was 23.
55.
55. Double nickel on that joint.
Double nickel. You know, gunshots.
Yeah, gunshots. I'm sure, man, that you know you done been through a lot, man. But now you just getting ready to enter another stage of your life, man. That's a teaching stage. You know what I'm saying? To teach these youngins, teach them about pain, teach them about consequences, teach them about decisions. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I personally think your platform will help a lot of them, man, to let them see, man, look, man, one night could change your whole life. You know what I'm saying? One night could change your whole life, and it ain't always got to be the penitentiary. It ain't always got to be the graveyard. It could be something that affect you for the rest of your life, man. Right. So we got to think about that and move accordingly, man, for sure, man. But yeah, tell everybody, man, what's the name of your platform and what platforms you own.
Okay, well, it's Painpaingoaway Pod on Instagram, Painpaingoaway Pod on TikTok, and Painpaingoaway Pod on YouTube. You know what I mean? So, yeah, those are the three platforms I'm on right now.
Well, TBP, man, y'all go follow my mans, man. You know, like I say, he family over here. And once you start doing your interviews, man, and get a couple of them on there up and running, then I'm gonna return the favor, man. I'm gonna come on there and let you interview me, champ.
I appreciate that, good brother.
Hey, I appreciate you, my guy, man. Y'all go check him out, man. We're gonna be talking more with him, man. We about to check this audio, make sure this audio right. But if it ain't, we'll run it back. You dig what I'm saying? Y'all be safe out there, man. Be smart, make good decisions, man. You know, the decisions gonna turn out. Peace, man. Appreciate you, guys.
TVP.
We out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Peace and love, man. Y'all go check out my guy, Painpaingoaway, man. And we gonna make it happen, man. Go run them numbers up for him. Salute. We gone.
The banking special. Yeah. Pure deliciousness. Pure deliciousness, man.
My name is Banky, man. Everybody calls me Banky. That's the name that I got from my grandmother when I was young. I'm coming out here after 30 years. Yeah, I ain't got nothing, but I'm gonna have something because I'm rich in personality, you know, and I'm rich in love. My family love me, and that's really all that counts.